I've always had a soft spot for Nippon Ichi, despite the fact that I very rarely have the patience to play any of their games. They specialize in middle-market anime RPGs that always have beautiful box art and seem cool as shit, which makes me constantly impulse buy everyone that I see. But then when I actually sit down and play the games, I realize that I sort of outgrew this style a long time ago. Most of these games seem like they would be better if they were just anime. The gameplay aspect gets in the way of what could be an intriguing story, and while the gameplay itself can often be enjoyable, the presentation always seems years behind the curve. Whereas a developer like Square Enix's biggest downfall is too much pomp and circumstance, Nippon Ichi's biggest weakness is not having enough. They've made some absolute classics in the past, games that I truly love and cherish to this day, like Phantom Brave, Disgaea, and Rhapsody. But that was on the PS1. It's been 20 years. So why do their games still look like this? Their games just don't evolve. Even on the PS4, it feels like I'm playing a PS2 game and it reeks of complacency. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, I bought this game recently. The Witch and the 100 Knight. Looks pretty cool, huh? Well, it is pretty cool. You play as this little starving African kid in a diaper, kinda culturally insensitive, but whatever, summoned by the evil swamp witch Metalia to spread her boggy domain throughout the world and make everyone cry. The gameplay is basically like a more cutesy version of Diablo 3. You run around, beat up critters, and collect loot. It's pretty fun, although whoever designed this camera is a fucking buffoon. Why are there trees in the foreground? I can't see what I'm doing! I can't see anything! You clods! The game's biggest strength is its main character, Metalia. Oh man, she's great. She's pure evil. She's a bitch, a brat. She fucking kills people and eats people and just taunts the shit out of everyone while she mercilessly tortures them to death without a single shred of remorse. She's perfect!
Citizens of the planet of the apes, allow me to introduce you to the queen of the planet of the filthy, dirty, disgusting, brutal, bottom-feeding trash bag hoes.
I can definitely see the gameplay getting old after a while, but I am somewhat hooked by the story. Metalia is just such a fascinating little ball of malice that I want to learn more about her and see where her quest leads. To perfectly illustrate how fun this character is, take this scenario from early on in the game. It's established that Metalia has this long-running, one-sided feud with the beautiful forest witch Malia. But when we finally meet Malia, it's pretty obvious that she's a totally nice and decent person. But we kick the shit out of her anyways, and then Metalia shows up to mercilessly taunt her and repeatedly kick her in the ribs while she's on the ground vomiting blood. While begging for mercy, Malia reveals that she is in fact Metalia's mother. But not only is Metalia completely unfazed by this, she actually seems offended that Malia would think this information would sway her towards mercy. So she decides to give her mother a fate worse than death by turning her into a mouse and then summoning a bunch of horny boy mice to rape the shit out of her, all the while gleefully mocking her and commanding her to give her lots of brothers and sisters while she gets violently gang raped in the mouse pussy. Right after this, Metalia's servant captures her mouse mom and cuts her up and cooks her, and then Metalia just lets you eat her, while she cackles to herself about what a stupid vomiting whore her mom was. Fucking fantastic. How can you not love this character? At this point, I was sold. I was 100% on Metalia's side, and I can't wait to crush the world under my boot heel in her name. Praise be to Metalia, the great swamp witch. May all know her greatness or suffer her wrath. This is quite possibly the greatest game ever made. Okay, I'm fucking bored. Here's the problem with these middle-market weeb games. It all goes back to what I was saying about shitty presentation. I hate the cutscenes in these kinds of games, because they're not real cutscenes. They're like this awkward middle ground between cutscenes and dialogue boxes, and it belongs on the fucking PS2! In a game with dialogue boxes and no voice acting, everything flows pretty quickly. It doesn't even feel like a break from gameplay. It feels like the dialogue is part of the gameplay. Conversely, a cutscene-heavy game does break away from the gameplay, but if the cutscenes are well written and well directed, you don't mind. It's still entertaining because it's a cutscene. But these fucking Nippon Ichi style pseudo cutscenes feel like such a fucking slog to get through. They feel so unnatural and completely take you out of the experience. It's impossible to stay invested. First of all, even though the games are fully voice acted, I can read faster than the voice acting. So immediately you run into the problem of either skipping over everyone's voices and cutting them off awkwardly, or sitting there waiting for them to finish saying what you already know they're going to say. I'm always conscious of this awkward push and pull, and it robs the events transpiring of any agency when the voice actors are doing their damnedest to act, but I have to press X to get to the next sentence of dialogue. Especially when every time you press X, it makes this loud, obnoxious, video gamey confirmation noise. Like, holy shit! How do you fuck up storytelling this badly? It's such an obvious thing, but they fuck it up every time. Nippon Ichi makes these same mistakes over and over again with every fucking game they put out. Not only that, but these scenes are always so overstuffed with dialogue. They're so tediously written and redundant. And I think it's because this is clearly such a cost-cutting measure. Because if they did put in actual cutscenes, if they had to direct something or animate something, then yeah, it would cost more, sure. But because it costs more, it would force them to revise the dialogue, trim the fat, and waste a lot less of my time. This cost-cutting style of storytelling leads to laziness and complacency in the writing, and it's the fucking downfall of what could be a great development studio. I fucking hate it! Looking at the characters page on the game's official website, I can see that there's so much more to this game that I haven't gotten to yet. So many interesting looking characters, and I would love to see how Metalia interacts with them. I want to see how this story progresses, but I just don't have the patience to keep playing. The gameplay has already started to feel repetitive, and even the most interesting character in the world can't save this story from the obnoxious and annoying way in which it's presented. These shitty press X to advance pseudo cutscenes are a cancer on the industry, and they seriously need to be done away with. I hate them! They ruin games! The Witch and the 100 Knight could have been so much better if not for the developer falling back on their same old complacent habits. I don't feel comfortable giving this game a score because I didn't get that far and I'm not a reviewer, but Nippon Ichi gets a big fat Ichi out of 10. Get your shit together, guys, or so help me God, I will rape you in the mouse pussy! In the